Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Today, the oceans hold their breath as we journey into Ringlet and the Day the Oceans Stop, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press in 2019. Join Libby as waves of mystery, courage and wonder sweep us into an unforgettable adventure. Part 3. The Upworlds. Chapter 11. Ringlet heads for the Upworlds. Ringlet closed the door to the shop and swam to where Lumpy Custard was waiting. It was very, very still. It was very, very silent. And it was very, very dark. She slipped onto the familiar curve of Lumpy Custard's back. "Off we go then," she murmured. "To the Upworlds." Lumpy Custard turned. 2 tiny flames burned at the back of his head. He spoke in a language she'd never heard before, yet, inside her head, she understood. Something about a shortcut, she thought. "Fine with me," she said. The sea goat swam back through the bottomless lake. Upon leaving its crystal waters, he veered into a smooth, flowing stream, where they found themselves accompanied by a large number of neon jellyfish. With the addition of the jellies, it was less lonely, less dark, and less silent. "Wait!" A jellyfish was pushing its way up the front to talk to the leader. "You sure? Right way? Me won't stop." "Miss Home," said Mr. Glowstick. "Same you, I too. No want leave. Miss Home, but home pass, out of sight, bad shape, on the wane." "How that?" said another. "And pass? See meal bring, each day? Fail not." "Pass can't live in," said Mr. Glowstick. "Truth is," he spoke slowly, as if searching for the right words. "Truth is, no tide push, no meal come." He sagged with visible relief at managing to complete a whole sentence, accompanied by a triumphant flashing of 6 colours, one after the other. "That's the best party trick I've ever seen," said Ringlet, sliding up closer. "Excuse me, Mr. Glowstick, but what exactly is on the wane?" The big jellyfish convulsed back to an iridescent blue. "By self," he quivered. "If wish, can join us." He did not wait for her to answer. Instead, calling out in a quivery voice to the entire stock backed up behind him, "No lag, no slouch, no give up, all you at full heave-ho." He gave a massive belch and turned back to Ringlet. "No brain them," he said, "but scared still. Strange seas, had to leave. Some of us, back there. Not move could. What was you ask? On the wane? I can't know what. Only know new. Have to place find." Mr. Glowstick launched into a dissonant warble. And soon all the jellyfish were singing. There was no rhythm, no tune, and no words, but it seemed to perk them up. Ringlet admired their optimism. They might be brainless, but they'd noticed before any of the other species that things weren't right. The great, eternal, restlessness is fading. She who sleeps must wake. Ringlet thought about Ninky's words as they swam along with the jellyfish, until Mr. Glowstick thought he detected an appealing murkiness below and ordered a descent. Declining the offer to join them, she watched as, in clumps, they followed his lead, all of them flashing enthusiastically, until they dropped out of sight. Ringlet and Lumpy Custard continued in silence. Ringlet was sleepy and dozed on and off. Before long, they arrived at an intersection where the current split off in two directions. A mountainous ridge separated the two canyons, which stretched out in long tunnels. Inside the tunnels were swift-flowing rivers. Lumpy Custard was treading water. With the next warmth of his webbed feet, they would be propelled down one or the other of the tunnels. Come on, Lumpy Custard, you decide, because I don't have a clue. Since the jellyfish had left them, they had been travelling in darkness. But now, as dawn approached, she could see an orb of black mist coming towards them down the left river. The sea goat spoke a second time. Once again, Ringlet understood. It has sensed your arrival, Mergirl, who is of the Cuplands, and it hastened towards you. It? Who is it? You fed me. I don't know when I last ate, but it was many tides ago. I am therefore to you of the gratitude. Really, it was just a takeaway. Don't mention it. Ringlet squinted down the left river. The blackness was getting bigger. Tentacled wisps, like long fingers, wove in and out as it got closer. The sea goat spoke with an urgency that was unsettling. Listen, Mergirl, who is of the kindness. Time is nearly of the all used up. The cesspool approaches. It will grip whatever stands before it and take itself and its prisoner to the Sea of Sinks. That place which is of the no return. But of you it must not be. You are she who is of the pure heart, and the one who commands me is of the deception. I will take your place, and down the second river you must go to find that which is of your destiny. No, no, Ringlet burst out. It's not fair. All my friends disappear. I've lost Signon, Ninky's floating off with Isky. Mr. Glowstick has found a new home. You're all I've got left, and I'm about to lose you. Lumpy Custard did not speak. He rolled his body to the side, and Ringlet tumbled off. He butted her. Ow! Forcing her arms to release the tight hold she had around his neck. She grabbed one of his enormous horns. Another wallop, this time with his tail, was strong enough, ow, to plummet her into the light blue canyon to the right. Just as the bad-smelling blast of black bubbles hit her, she saw the first tentacled finger reach out, twist itself around the sea goat's belly, and pull him towards itself. Let go of my sea goat, you wad of puke! She strained against the current holding her, while with a sucking noise the tentacle drew the sea goat towards a whirling vortex at the centre of itself. Give him back! Anger gave way to terror. Another blast of bubbles hit her, and she felt the force of the goat's tail. She was spinning back towards the light blue canyon. As she entered it, a sheet of water shot down, sealing her off from the sea goat and the cesspool. She dived forward and hit the glassy door head-on. Ouch! She bashed on it with both fists, but could not find a chink to squeeze herself through. All she could do was watch as the tentacled finger shivered and withdrew, taking Lumpy Cuss with it. The last thing Ringlet saw as the sea goat went gurgling backwards were the two flickering lights deep in his eyes. She watched until there was no more than a tiny pinprick. My last friend is gone. And then, as if obeying one last order from Capricornius Ithera, before he was carried to the place of no return, a soft current wrapped itself around her and carried her forward. When she woke, it was morning. It was the sort of day that makes mermaids sing for the sheer joy of being alive. But Ringlet had never felt less like singing. Chignon was cleaning up poop. Esky was shut in a drawer. And as for Lumpy Custard, she shuddered. It was meant to be me. She swam around the corner. The current murmured, goodbye, and left. A narrow canyon widened into a huge undersea lagoon. Ahead, two massive rocks emerged. They seemed to rise upwards from the ocean floor and go on forever, all the way to the upwards. This has to be it. At the foot of the massive rocks waited a queue of sea folk. Sightseers? Who would have thought? Ringlet approached a cluster of floating barnacles on a fossilized tree trunk. The barnacles looked at her suspiciously. No tricks, Mergirl. This is no time for playing games. We don't want to lose our place in the queue. I'm not going to fling you anywhere, if that's what you're referring to, said Ringlet. I promise, although a quick game of barnacle biff is extremely tempting. But years of being thrown around to the wild, excited screams of mermaids has taken their toll. The barnacles pulled down their hatches and refused to talk further. Kill Jumper! Yelled a sea enemy, flashing its fingers at her. Get to the back or get lost! Ringlet ignored the enemy. She spotted 3 mergirls waiting further down the queue and swam towards them. My own kind, she thought. Well, that's something. Look, I know I should go to the back of the line, but I've got this urgent job to do. Do we know you? Said the tallest of the 3. She had short, dark hair and smiled at Ringlet. Not sure, said Ringlet. Where are you off to? We're not off anywhere, said one of the other mermaids. We're on our way home. Wait and slip on with us if you want. Ringlet stared. She had no idea what the mermaids were talking about. Home? Wait. Slip on? It's quiff. You'll have to convince, though, the tallest mermaid continued. And he can be tricky, depending on what sort of mood he's in. By the way, that is certainly some hairstyle you have there. And where did you get those incredible eyelashes? I'm Ringlet. It's a long story about the hair and the lashes. Later, maybe. The tall mermaid flapped her tail fin and grinned. I'm Pixie, and these are my friends, Scrunchy and All Day Sheen. Got the latest goss. We're a bit out of touch. Not gossip, exactly. But, have you heard of the fading? Scrunchy and All Day Sheen shook their heads. Nope. Pixie pushed forwards. Whatever your urgent job is, remember this. Quiff responds to flattery, and whatever you do, don't say anything about his tail. You mean lack of it, said Scrunchy with a smirk. Tail, said Ringlet. Lack of it? Born with that one. Pixie spoke in a cautious undertone. And he's a wraith to bargain with. It's made him a bit of an outcast. He'd much rather haunt, like the rest of them, but he squelches dreadfully. He thrashes around like a bulldog fish. Add Scrunchy. He can't scare the scales off a slug. That's why he's stuck here in the wop-wops, in charge of cues. All day Sheen tucked up her tail and did a quick somersault. I can't wait to get back to the Kelplands, she said. The Kelplands? Ringlet's voice came out with a hysterical shrilliness. The Kelplands? Fish were leaning out of the queue and staring in her direction. Miss Pushy, Shovey, Any Ringy, one of them called. Shrieky and cheaty, you won't get away with it. Ringlet moved closer to Pixie and lowered her voice. Did you say the Kelplands? But this is the entrance to the Upworlds, isn't it? The three mermaids looked at her, as if I'm stupid. Oh no, what's even made you think that? Ringlet noticed a black shape slithering down one of the two massive rocks. I'm from the Kelplands, she whispered. I thought I recognized you. Not entirely, not absolutely, but I thought... Three mermaids exchanged glances. Really? Said Pixie. Remind us again, who are you? Ringlet managed to stammer out that she didn't really know anything. There had been a tumble and a bump on her head some time back, easier than having to muddle through the whole story. But the Kelplands was home. She was about to say that as far as she was concerned, today was her lucky day. She'd found out how to get back home without needing the memory munchie, and she really had been beginning to think she would never find home again when the wraith landed with a clumsy thud in front of them. And where would Missy Threesome be going today? He inquired in a raspy voice. Ringlet peered out from behind Pixie. Ugh, she thought. No tail, just a stump, poor thing. Hello, Quiff, said Pixie cheerfully. 3 for the Kelplands, please. And Missy 4? Quiff gave a self-satisfied gurgle. Out to come. There's no hiding around here. Not from Quiff. He jumped back up to a ledge on the rock and stared down at them. Please, said Ringlet, emerging. Please, if you could tell me... She swam out beneath where the wraith was perched. Where the exit is, please, to the Upworlds. I thought this was it, please. The wraith ignored her. If he did know, he wasn't saying, and if he didn't know, he wasn't saying either. Ringlet tried again. I've got something urgent to do, and once I've done it, well, then I can come right back. She nodded at the mermaids. And catch you girls up, if that's all right. Can't it wait, said Pixie, because it takes ages to get anywhere at the moment. Quite a few of the regular currents aren't working. Exactly, said Ringlet. That's why it can't wait. It really, really can't. I won't be long. I recognize your voice. Quiff whined. It spilled out on the chatterbox current. You're the one that argued, aren't you? Ringlet groaned. Probably I was, she said, hoping the wraith would leave it alone at that. Here we go again, she thought. With all this, you're the one business. Quiff stretched himself languidly down from the ledge, Ringlet was floating towards. He peered at her and reached out a skinny finger to touch her face. But at that moment, the tail stump, securing him to the rock, lost its suction and pinged off, compressing him into a misshapen lump. All Day Sheen made a clawing noise and covered her face with her hands. Ringlet saw she was trying to be polite. Pixie and Scrunchy were politely casting their eyes downwards. With a loud pop, the wraith pulled himself back into shape. "I know who you are," he said. "Give me a minute." "Listen, Ringlet," said Pixie earnestly. "You should come with us. Over this mountainous ridge is the Kelplands, but it's impossible to swim there, and the current that we're about to catch is a shortcut. It zigs us up in a blink and gives a back massage at the same time." "It'll be the last blink ever," said Ringlet, "and the last back massage as well. Haven't you noticed? The currents are getting weaker. Soon they'll stop altogether. Look down the queue. You can see it for yourself." "See what exactly?" said Pixie, sticking out her head and peering down the line. "I can't see anything." "That's it," said Ringlet. "The fading. Look at your murdog." "Snoozing." Scrunchy put her hands on her hips and glared at Ringlet. "They're snoozing." "Their wings aren't moving." "Of course not. They always fold their wings up when they snooze." The oceans may have paused, but our adventure is far from over. Join Libby next Saturday at 9:30 a.m. as we continue exploring Ringlet and the Day the Ocean Stopped, by Felicity Williams, published by Ahoy, and imprint of the Cuba Press. Keep your curiosity alive and your hearts open, because the magic, mystery, and wonder of the sea are waiting for us in the next chapter on Spin Me a Tale.